Hey everyone, I'm Marty. I'm an alcoholic. I have a sobriety date of January 10, 2024. I do have a sponsor named Saul, and I'm part of a home group called the No Nonsense Group. And yeah, thank you for the invite out here. And yeah, thank you, Daniel, for asking me to come out here too. You know, it's been a real good experience. You know, I got to meet people from Colorado, New York, Arizona, all over. You know, a little nervous up here. You know, I never got to really speak in a meeting setting like this. You know, like. I've been speaking with my home group, and even with my home group when I was newer, you know, like we don't really raise hands in our group, and like they don't want to hear from the newcomers, you know. They like we're trying to help you get rid of what you got. We're not trying to, you know. So yeah, I don't get to do too much speaking, you know, but yeah, you know recently I've got to lead a couple meetings, and we do have a part of our home group too. We have people in Utah. I got to take a trip out there a few weeks ago, actually in Provo. And we got people in Bakersfield, and yeah, you know, they really show me a way of life, you know, and yeah, you know, like I said, I'm an alcoholic. I like to talk to, you know, but that's like my sponsor when I was newer too. You know, he like, you know, he really made that, you know, the physical allergy, the mental obsession, the spiritual malady, like he really, you know, opened my eyes to it, and like I related to it, and you know, except the spiritual malady at first, I was like, well, I don't believe in God, you know, and he was like, well, he's like, look, we're just gonna start simple, and he's like, just pray that in the morning, just pray that, you know, higher power, God will keep you sober. And at night, just thank him for keeping you sober, you know. And, you know, I also had the experience before where, like, in 2021 was the first time I got a sponsor. And, like, you know, I felt that was enough for me then, you know. That was getting out of prison after meeting Dano. That was in 2008. We were together. And, yeah, bad influence. I believe it was you and two other guys that tried to jump on me in there, but... But, yeah, you know, yeah, I got to take a look at my part on that, too, and it's good. You know, it's awesome. It's awesome, too, you know, like, yeah, like you're talking about, you know, God, you know, the way God works, you know, like years later, you know, I get sober, and he's at a meeting and then comes to make amends to me, which is powerful, you know, and... Yeah, you know, like, you know, all the experiences I've had in AA so far, they've been like a real blessing, you know, and like I was talking about too, like, so in 2021, you know, I didn't want to go back to prison, you know, I didn't want to go back to prison. I thought maybe I could find a way to use or drink where I'd be okay to just, you know, be a weekend warrior or something, you know, but like, yeah, that's never worked for me anyways, you know, the way I've always gone. Yeah, I got that physical allergy, you know. It's like once I put something in me, I don't know when I'm going to stop, you know. Usually I break out in handcuffs, and even then I don't stop, you know. And, yeah, but, like, so I had a sponsor before that, you know, like, I didn't have that real first step experience, you know. It's like, yeah, I knew you know, I was powerless, you know, but, like, when it came to, like, somebody, like, managing my life, you know, that wasn't admitting complete defeat, though, you know, and I wasn't willing to, you know, go to any length over victory over alcohol like he asked me, you know. And, you know, I got the results of that, you know. I got loaded again, and I was out there for a couple of years, you know, and, like, yeah, the program really did mess up my drinking, though, and using, you know. Like, I remember for, like, a few months, I was just like, damn, these people, man, like, you know, but I'm glad they did, you know, but, and I'm glad God gave me another chance to come back in these rooms, you know. Yeah, I'm grateful to be alive and sober today, you know, and, like, it was never like that before, you know. Like, I remember, like, when I was out there, like, all I wanted to do was die, you know, but I was, like, too chicken shit to actually kill myself, but I'm sitting there like, I'm going to die by using, you know, by putting a needle in my arm every day, you know, and, yeah, it's good not to live like that anymore, you know, and, yeah, you know, I have a real good home group, too, that, you know, we have a house that, like, it's like a first step experience house too, you know, like, and like when they first let me in there, right, I was like, man, you guys are crazy. You don't even know who the hell you're letting in this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like I'll rob you guys quick, you know. Have you guys tied up and everything, you know. But yeah, you know, it's real good. You know, we got a house, you know, and I'm from a real good, you know, Daniel's actually got to come out to my group and speak, you know, and I'm grateful for that too, you know, and like we have like a real good web of sponsorship. I have like a grand sponsor that I talk to every day too as my sponsor, you know, and great grand sponsor, and like so many people in our group that are just like really practicing this way of life, and really kind of, you know, simplified it for me once I was able to just like completely surrender, you know. It's like that surrender process for a long time was hard for me, you know, but like yeah, once I was able to just put that flag up, you know, and like just, you know, just keep it up, you know, and that's what I that's what my sponsor even kind of like brought that to my attention, like just try to like really lock in on this it's like, and you got to be open-minded too, to like not just like it's actually taking the direction I give you, and yeah, there was a lot of direction when I was younger. I mean, when I was newer, that like, yeah, it was uncomfortable and I didn't like it, especially when he told me like, yeah, you need to block your girlfriend. You need to stay out of that relationship right now. You need to just block her and like, let's wait till we get like a 4-step and take a look at yourself. And, like for like a couple weeks, I was kind of like fighting with him about it, like going back and forth, and I got hung up on a couple times. And then he was like, look, if you want to go try it your way again, like you can go try it your way, and like something was just there. And I was like, okay, man, like I'm just going to do this, you know what I mean? And I blocked that relationship. And, my sponsors really helped me too with, because even when I was newer, he's like, look, I want you to call me about like, what's going on in your head, like, and anything you got going on, and at first, like when I was newer too, he'd be like, look, this is what I want you to do today, like call these people, write down about, what you talk to them about, call some other alcoholics and be at the meeting, pretty simple, and, I would do that stuff, and like, and then there was times too when I was new. I remember like when I'd be at meetings and I'd be sitting on my cell phone, maybe playing pool or texting somebody, right? And like he used to like he'd be like, hey, put that phone away and listen, man. Like you got to listen to the message, And like that used to bother me even at first, Like I used to get bothered by that, But then I like, he'd be like, hey, didn't you say weren't you willing to go to any length over victory over alcohol? And I'd be like, damn, hey, you're right, And I had the experience before of, not following direction, So, yeah, this first step, like, having that experience every day, like, it's experience I have to have 100% every day, Like I talked to my sponsor this morning, called my grand sponsor and talked to one of my sponsee brothers, and like even it's amazing too how like I was talking about, so like calling about the thoughts that were in my head, like I'd be like, man, this guy's gonna get crazy. Like if I tell him about every thought that's in my head every second, was like my mind is crazy. You know what I mean? I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate. Like just taking those simple actions of what he was having me do, like hey, like just go over to HQ headquarters and just wash dishes over there. Go help him, go help him clean the yard. And just be of service, and like, I started doing it, and like, yeah, at first I was like, damn, this is crazy. How's this going to keep me sober, like washing dishes or cleaning someone's, yard or picking up dog poop at meetings or whatever. Like, this is going to keep me sober, but, just taking the actions, it really kind of like, that's when I really started having that first step experience, and I was making those prayers too in the morning, like he was talking about it at night, and I really believe too, like I love too, like what you're talking about, like last night too, like a spiritual solution, because yeah, like I was so closed out, like, and when I got to that inventory too, like, I know this is really like, speaking on the first step, but like when I got to that inventory, I got to really see like how, like my sponsor pointed out, like, yeah, see, you were playing God, you were selfish, dishonest, and like, all that stuff like really helped me. But before that, like when I got into that, that second and third step, even that second step, he made it pretty simple on me. He was like, look, man, just like put your hope in the group, you don't need to, just as long as you can believe that the group can keep you sober, like let's just keep it simple like that, and yeah, the first step for me too, it's like it talks about too in the 12 and 12 too, like why all this insistence, of every day must hit bottom, and I for so many times, like I would try to justify, like, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, but like, the honesty behind it is, yes, I have been homeless before. I've been homeless. Thought because I stayed in a motel, I wasn't necessarily homeless, but yeah, that's still being homeless. And and just the the insanity behind all that, it's like, it's okay. So while this insistence too, it's like my home group and my sponsor too. They kind of like the rock bottom. They kind of made it a little bit too, like the rock bottom. It's not necessarily the the circumstance, it's like once you fully surrender, like, so once I like really surrendered and really started following his direction and taking his direction, that's when like the bottom was able to get lifted, and like for a person like me, to have like that obsession lifted, because that's something that like I never thought would ever leave me, like that obsession was always there, and then it's like now even further into, I mean, I haven't been sober probably as long as you guys know, but like, in my sobriety, like I've really been staying connected. I go to meetings every day. I'm of service. I actually got a couple sponsees right now that I'm getting to take through the book, which is like a really awesome experience, it's just like, I'm so grateful for that, and one of them is actually in jail too. But so just by taking these actions, it's like, that obsession has been lifted, and it's like, and I actually like have like I love being around my home group, and I love being around other alcoholics now, and this is like what I like want to be doing now, it's actually amazing, because I remember when I was newer, I was like, damn, another meeting, like, or I got to call this person, and it's not like that for me today, it's this is something I want to be doing, it's a good thing. And my home group has really shown me like a good way of life, and this first step, it's like, something that I have to have every day, because I have had the results, like I was saying, where, once I wanted to stop talking to my sponsor, or like it's, I got alcoholism, I want to sponsor myself, I sabotage myself, and I don't want to, I don't want to live that way of life, today, which is, that's a blessing, and like, my will, like drunk or sober, has never worked for me, like my sponsor likes to point that out for me too a lot, he's like, has your will ever worked for you, drunk or sober, and the honesty behind it is no, and I just wanted to get back into like too. So like, my sponsor actually, he took me through this, he's taken me through this book word for word, line for line, paragraph for paragraph. He's like, I had to, like, our first step assignment is like, we actually have to define self-honesty and then summarize like what it means to us, but then we actually go through the book together. And like my sponsor really, like, especially with like, when I was like so, fogged up in the head and like newer, like all these words in that book, like I didn't understand any of them, so like, I'm grateful that I had a sponsor that I have a sponsor that takes me through this stuff, word for word, and really kind of like, gives me the meaning of it, and still helps me today in so many areas, it's like, like it's kind of a trip too, because like I was talking about, like just, some of the direction though is funny, because like I just got a recent, not necessarily direction, but he was telling me like just a couple weeks ago, he was like, hey man, like, he's like, are you looking for a relationship or anything? Are you trying to get out there, right? And I was just like, the hell, like you just told me to block my girl like a year and a half ago, and now you're telling me to get out there, but like, it's funny because as soon as he tells me that, I'm like, ding, like my head is like, oh yeah, like I can go date now, but it's like, it's kind of a trip, too, because it's like I really like, I'm just so involved in the program, and then also like my groups taught me too, like like not really we don't really like date in the program, because especially when people are newer, it's like we're not trying to cause harm, and that's the way of life I'm trying to live today, it's like I don't want to cause that harm that I used to cause anymore, it's so also my my sponsor, he's taken me through this book, and like I still need, like, even though like getting connected like with that higher power, and really like seeking God out, praying and meditating, and really like living by His will. I still need my sponsor, because I still have that alcoholism. So like once I got like that connection with God, I was like, okay, cool. Like now I'm just doing all this for God, and it's like, no, it's like I have things that come up. Like if I get inventory, I got fears, and I talk to him, and and I'm so grateful that I have him too, because like and then I'm able to just like reach out to him as much as I do, you know, because it's like when I got something going on, like I'm not like hip like that. We're like, oh, I need to put this on paper, you know. So I give him a call, and he's like, yeah, man, that sounds like fear. Like, why don't we get this down on paper, you know? Or it sounds like a resentment, you know, and maybe it's connected with the fear or whatever it may be, you know. And yeah, I really get the help that you know that I need here, you know. My sponsors help me like in a way that like it's just, you know, it's to live freely too of just that obsession, you know, and you know, I was going to talk too about like the mental obsession, you know. It's like you know, when I was newer, of course, it's like or you know, when you're out there, like all you're doing is thinking about your next drink or fix, you know. But you know, it's he even you know, he brings it to my attention a lot of times too. Like, but there's times like I'll be sitting there thinking about, you know, other things that like that are not basically, you know, what we're supposed to be doing here, you know. So he's like, you know, that obsession right there too, you know, like if you're just obsessing about getting a car, clothes, whatever it is, he's like, you know, what you're doing is you're just taking away from being useful to somebody, you know. So yeah, I try not to, you know, I try not to obsess on things too much, but it is hard, you know, because I am, you know, I like to always try to think about myself as much as I don't like to, but like my mind likes to, you know, likes to do that to me, you know. My mind is trying to always tell me just to think about myself, you know. But yeah, yeah, you know, altruism, you know, I was taught about too, you know. Altruism has been like, you know, and even when I was, you know, when I first heard altruism, like, yeah, you know, like, go do something for somebody and don't expect anything back from it, you know. I was just like, damn, don't get nothing back from it? Like, you know what I mean? That's crazy, you know? Like, I'm supposed to get doubled up or something, aren't I? You know, and I have, you know, gone through, you know, the whole 12 steps, and I practice the steps on a daily basis, you know, but it ultimately all is in that first step, you know. If I don't have that first step experience, like, I'm not going to be able to, you know, I'm not going to be able to do any of these other steps, these remaining 11 remaining steps as they talk about in the 12 and 12 too, you know. And yeah, you know, I'm grateful to be out here. Thank you again. And it was wonderful being out here. Thank you for letting me share.